A lone rider glimpsed a barefoot girl wavering in the heat. He could spur past or risk thirst to save her. Bleached alkali dust blurred the horizon into wavering sheets of light. Silas Ward reined his roan at the crown of a low rise and narrowed sun-stung eyes. Far ahead, a solitary figure drifted south to north. No mule, no shoes, dress hem fluttering in the furnace wind like a tattered flag of surrender. Every instinct drilled by lean years urged him to keep riding. Water sloshed low in his last canteen, and the freight of regrets already bowed his spine. Yet the sight of those bare, blistering feet against white salt flat struck a buried chord older than sense. He angled the roan downslope. Hoofbeats drummed hollow on crusted earth, scattering brittle salt shards. As he closed the gap, the figure resolved. A young woman, shoulders raw beneath torn muslin, skin the color of new roasted coffee, mouth cracked open to pant. She didn't startle at his approach, too spent to fear. Silas dismounted, corked the horse's thirst with a curt pat, then unlooped the canteen. "Sip," he said, his voice a rasp and used a gentleness. She took vessel with shaking hands, drank a mouthful, coughed, steadied, drank again. When she tried to hand it back, he pushed it toward her. "Finish." Only after the third swallow did her eyes meet his, dark, half-fevered, but still sparking caution. He saw no band on her wrist, no cart brand, only rope-burned ghosts. "Name?" he asked. A dry whisper. "Leah." He nodded once. No more questions. Sun hammered overhead, the girl's scalp already pinking through curls. Silas removed his sweat-creased hat, settled it on her head. Then he lifted her gently, swung her sideways into the saddle. She hissed when raw soles grazed stirrup leather. He tore a strip from his neckerchief, wrapped each foot quick and snug, nodding at the arches, makeshift moccasins. They moved north, Silas walking, reins loose. Heat shimmer turned to daggers. Sweat wormed down his spine. Twice Leah tried off with the hat back. Twice he shook head. Words sparse, each held water's worth. At dusk the land broke into low dunes of powdery shale. He steered them to a sliver of shade under collapsed telegraph tower. With quiet hands he lifted Leah down. She swayed but did not fall. He spread blanket, set her upon it, produced tin of beans and a single hard biscuit. Split, both equal. She ate slow, lips trembling at first taste of salt. After, she drew from her dress a crumpled oilskin packet, held tight even while starving, and tucked it under blanket. Silas noted but did not pry. Night fell sharp. Desert radiated stored heat out in waves. He laid his coat over her shoulders, then unsaddled horse, picketed within earshot. Returning, he found Leah awake, watching stars prick the velvet east. She lifted canteen, now half full, extended it. He drank one swallow, gesture returned courtesy, and capped it. They shared silence thick as wool, until a coyote's distant yelp stitched horizon. Leah flinched. Silas stoked ember fire with dry sage. Flames painted old bullet scar across his forearm. Her gaze lingered. His shifted away. Shame and memory pooled dark behind ribs. Later, she dozed. He sat sentry, rifle across knees, mind replaying image of blistered feet trudging hell-white flat. Specter of a sister he once failed to reach in time. Guilt rode wind like dust. But when dawn paled eastern edge, he realized Leah still breathed, chest lifting slow beneath his coat. One small victory, paid by a half canteen and a hat. Sunrise returned furnace glare. He woke her with gentle nudge, offered strip of jerky. She motioned for knife. He passed it. She cut smaller piece, fed roan. That act, sharing scarce meat with his horse, wrung a soft grunt of respect from Silas's throat. Before mounting, he knelt, loosened neckerchief wraps, examined her soles, raw, swollen. Without speaking, he soaked cloth in canteen dregs, pressed coolness to broken skin. Leah quivered but held still. Trust, fragile as dew, settled between them. They rode toward a distant vein of cottonwoods where rumor placed an abandoned way station. Behind them their footprints burned into salt crust, telling a story only buzzards would read. Ahead, the promise of shade, possibly water, and perhaps an answer folded in that oilskin packet she guarded like life itself. Silas adjusted reins, glanced at Leah, his hat too large shadowing her eyes, then urged Roan forward. For the first time since spotting her, she risked a small nod of thanks. He answered with a barest tilt of mouth. On this desert, such things were as rare as rain. Moon slipped down the western rim before Silas and Leah reached the cottonwood rib that marked the abandoned Baxter relay station. First light grayed the trunks, owls folded into hollows, trading night watch for sleep. Buildings stood skeletal. A stone springhouse half-roofed with tin, a sagging bunk shed, two fence posts still tied by rust-crumbled wire. Between them, a dry hand dug well waited like a silent question. Silas helped Leah dismount. Her wrapped feet touched soil flecked with mica. Pain fluttered across her brow, but she swallowed it. He circled the well, dropped a pebble, listened. 5 seconds, then the faintest kiss of water. He lowered the canteen with rawhide thong, hauled up a brimming clink. Leah drank, cheeks hollow filling, eyes closing. She cupped a palmful for him. He tasted cold mineral hope and let it settle behind his ribs. Morning unfurled slow. They stripped Roan's saddle, spread blanket under cottonwood crown. Leah peeled away the makeshift bandages. Saul's angry red, skin peeled like bark. Silas fetched a tin salve he carried for saddle sores, lard thick with pine pitch. He knelt, set her heel on folded coat, and worked Sal with thumb strokes that balanced firm and careful. Leah flinched and stilled, breath fluttering at his gentleness. She whispered, "Thank you." So light might have been leaf rustle. Heat climbed fast. Silas explored dusty storeroom, found 2 packets of long-forgotten notes, worm-free, and a cracked fiddle with one surviving string. Returning, he discovered Leah kneeling at busted trough, rinsing the oilskin letter in a cup of clear water, freeing it of salt cake from her flight. He sat nearby, silent question. She unfolded the page. Neat looping script, docket seal, 3 names, dates, sums. A bill of sale for 6 indentured girls. Hers circled in pencil. Slated for transfer at Copper Creek in 2 weeks. She traced ink with fingertip, tears gathering but unshed. He asked no more, only tucked document back, tied packet watertight, and slid it into his vest. Proof to carry when law finally mattered. They spent midday repairing the springhouse roof. Leah steadied ladder, while he hammered new nail from scavenged wire, sweat running dusty rivulets down spine. Twice she handed him canteen, without being asked. Once he caught her wrist mid-offer, and guided bottle to her lips first. A half-smile creased her cracked mouth, easing the desert hardness a fraction. Late afternoon, they found an old crate of telegraph insulators. Silas shaped one green glass bell into a cup, smoothed edges on sandstone, then filled it with well water and handed it to Leah, a token prettier than the battered tin. She lifted it like crystal goblet. Sun refracted sea-colored rings across her face. Laughter slipped out, surprising them both. His answering grin dragged old Scar tight. For a heartbeat he looked almost young. Evening arrived lavender. They kindled sagebrush, bean tin simmering. Silas shredded jerky into stew, sent a salt meat and resin twisting upward. Leah set her half-dried dress hem close to flames to singe crawling lice she feared remained. Silas offered his shirt to screen sparks. She flushed in fire glow, more from kindness than embarrassment. Food finished, he rummaged pack, produced honey-colored peach save since last trading post. Skin bruised, juice eager. He sliced with clasp knife clean on sleeve, passed first crescent to her. Sweetness flooded her mouth, chased sandpaper dryness. She closed eyes. When they opened, tears glimmered. He took next slice, chewed slow, like sharing sacrament. Night deepened, embers sighing. Silas strung the one fiddle string, plucked tentative. Sound thin yet clear. Leah, drowsy, asked soft, "Did you play before?" He shook head. Anna did. Name hovered heavy. He told story in fragments. Younger sister, dust pneumonia. Their wagon delayed at river, him too late with medicine. Leah listened, palm over pendant, pulse of empathy bridging silence. She spoke of mother soul when Leah was 10. Father dead of yellow water. Caravan boss claiming debt through her body. Pain shared redrew horizon lines. Wind cooled. Wolf called distant. Silas rose, offered his hand. She frowned, questioning. He tugged lightly. In clearing, moon-dusted ground silver, he placed her right palm atop his scarred shoulder, left hand cautious at her waist. With no music but insect choir and lonely fiddle note, they swayed. Hardly a dance, more an alignment of heartbeats. Her bare feet rested on his boots, pressure light. Overhead, the Milky Way poured like spilled flour. Below, two survivors moved slow as tide, measuring trust one step at a time. They parted before closeness burned. He guided her to blanket, tucked coat, set rifle across knees, resumed watch. She slept deeper than previous nights. Fingers curled around cedar cup. Pre-dawn chill bit. He brewed coffee, bitter and thin. Leah stirred, shivering, and he wrapped blanket over both shoulders while they crouched by fire. Steam braided into gray light, mingling breaths. They ate oat mush sweetened with 3 late desert plums she found near spring roots. Victory scavenged from neglect. Just as they broke camp, a single rider silhouette carved sunrise on ridge. Wide brim hat, repeating rifle. Silas's hand found lever carbine. Leah's eyes widened. She knew outline. Caravan guard branded with snake tattoo. Silas read fear, stepped in front. Rider turned horse downhill, loose trot, scanning ruins. Silas pushed Leah behind crumbling wall. Drew bead, waited. Wind shifted, carrying scent of sweat and gun oil. Rider paused 50 paces out, eyes sweeping spring house, debris, then fixed on Silas standing clear, rifle across chest. Calculating. Leah's breath trembled down his spine. Long moment. Stranger flicked rain. Spit dust. Rode on toward South Flats. Maybe alone, maybe scout for larger pack. Heartbeat slowed. Leah exhaled prayer she hadn't dared for months. Silas lowered rifle. His hand found hers without planning. Fingers locked 5 seconds before he released, but the imprint lingered. Decision came swift. Copper Creek no longer far off. If guard rode there, Caravan would tighten security. They must cut west over Mesa, cross Needle Pass. Harder terrain, but shorter. Leah nodded resolute. Silas repacked. Tested cinches. Lifted her into saddle. Set hat firm. Before mounting, he pressed cedar cup into her hands. Keep. She tied a dependent string. 3 treasures swayed. Metal, wood, glass. They rode early heat, sun forging distance behind them. Ahead the mesa shimmered purple, promising stone shade and cougar tracks. Leah's head rested against his back as she dozed, each till a trail nudged her nearer. He counted her breaths, steady, and felt the weight of promise. To guide her not only from danger, but toward a life where bare feet would step on cool porch boards, not salt crust. Behind, Springhouse fell small as thumbnail, but in its shadow lay a dance, a shared peach, a night without fear. Memory enough to sustain both until the next well, the next borrowed song, the next proof that hearts could mend in quiet increments. The mesa rose like a bruised wall, its rim jagged into 2 blunt peaks that locals called Needle Pass. Silas pushed the roan hard up the switchbacks. Leah seated before him. Fingers laced in the worn mane. Wind funneled through crevices, tasting of iron and distant juniper. Mid-slope, yellow lichen mottled the stone, and goat tracks vanished into fractures thin as knife slots. By noon, they reached a ledge shaded by overhang. Silas dismounted, muscles twitching from climb. Leah slid down, feet finding patch of sandy soil softer than shale. She untied the cedar cup, filled it from a trickle weeping off the rock face, then washed dust from Silas's bandaged shoulder. When she peeled cloth away, the burn looked angry, but edges knit clean. She smeared fresh pine pitch salve, breath warm on his skin, and for a moment he allowed eyes to close, trusting her small hands to ease pain he'd forgotten how to name. They broke a cold meal, oat flatbread, slivers of jerky, 1 desert squash Leah had foraged at dawn. As they ate, Silas laid map scrap on saddle. Needle Pass cut time by 2 days, yet pinched riders into single file between sheer drops. If caravan scouts waited, ambush would come here. Leah traced a penciled line to Copper Creek, then tapped secret trails she'd overheard guards whisper, a side exit from pass leading to Hidden Water Cave. Silas scrawled a new course. Steps echo below. Hoof on shale, echoed metallic laugh up canyon. Silas pack map, guided Leah behind a boulder shaped like anvil. 3 riders emerged in single column. Lead scout with snake tattoo on neck. Second carrying Spencer rifle. Third leading spare mule. They paused where trail narrowed under overhang. Silas cocked hammer, sighted, waited. First rider dismounted, knelt to inspect hoof prints. Fresh prints of Silas's roan. He signaled others. Rifleman raised weapon. Leah's breath hitched. Silas squeezed trigger half-stroke, then stopped. Shot here might tumble stone onto them both. He slid carbine under arm, picked up fist-sized rock, hurled it downslope. Stone clattered, sparked. Riders swung guns toward noise. Silas grabbed Leah's hand, sprinted higher switchback. Boots skidded, but Leah kept pace, sandals made from neckerchief strips, slapping stone. Gunfire barked, bullet ricocheted. Singing, they dove behind fallen juniper trunk. Silas returned fire. 1 round shattered Scout's saddle horn, splinters flying. Leah tugged at his sleeve, pointed upslope, narrow cleft barely wider than shoulders. They scrambled through, crawling under prickly pear lobes. Passage spit them onto hidden ledge, overhanging canyon floor. Below, riders argued, echo bouncing off walls. Silas counted voices. Just 3 yet. He unpacked coil of rawhide, looped around rock, fashioned sling. Leah understood, loaded sling with palm-sized stone. Silas swung, released. Rock smashed against shale above riders. Avalanche of dust and debris cascading. Spooking horses. Mules brayed. Riflemen toppled, cursing. In chaos. They slipped along cliff edge, knees trembling at void yawning right. At crest, past flattened plateau, crusted with brittle grass. Ahead lay narrow gorge. The water cave Leah had marked. Sun hammered. Clouds piled but withheld shade. Silas scanned back trail. Riders regrouping, but wary now, dismounting to lead horses. Distance maybe 15 minutes. They reached cave mouth cut into volcanic tuff. Inside, cold air breathed out, smelling of wet limestone. A ribbon of water mirrored roof crystals. Leah collapsed to knees, cupped handfuls, drank, then soaked cloth shoes. Silas drank slower, never letting gaze leave entrance. He unpacked small tin of black powder, poured thin line across threshold, buried under dust. At far wall, he wedged stub candle and flint. Leah watched him notch striker. Plan clear. Spark would run powder line. Force smoke and flame outward. False cave-in noise to buy escape. Before leaving, Leah pressed oilskin letter into Silas's vest. Proof, she insisted. He tucked it safe. They followed back exit tunnel, narrow, choking with bat guano, emerging on north face where wind snapped cooler. Below, Scrub Valley rolled toward Copper Creek Flats, a day's hard ride. Hoofbeats echoed in cave they'd left. Spark hissed, muffled boom thundered. Smoke belched, bats shrieked. On ridge, Silas and Leah watched riders flee coughing, mounts scattering downwash. Trail clear for now. Dusk-colored sky blood orange. Silas halted roan, dismounted. He unlashed his spare boots. Warm but intact, set them before Leah. Her eyes widened. He knelt, unlaced rag sandals, slipped boots over her blistered feet. Fit loose but safe. She touched his scarred cheek with 3 fingertips, leaned, brushed lips against burn line. A kiss featherlight, trembling. He drew breath sharp, forehead resting against hers 1 count, then 2. They rode under rising stars. Valley air still warm but kinder. Leah dozed against his back, cedar cup and pendant chiming soft. Silas counted hoofbeats, each one echo of vows still unspoken. To deliver her beyond reach of snakes, to answer kindness with permanence. At midnight, they reached Cottonwood Grove, sheltering shallow pond. Moon glazed quiet water. Silas made camp, but instead of separate rolls laid blankets edge to edge. Leah settled close, her boots still on, symbol that road would not wound her again. He spoke into dark, voice half gravel, half promise. No more walking alone. She answered, simple, sure, and no more riding afraid. Wind carried scent of distant mesquite bloom. Somewhere, caravan boss cursed lost scout in the grove. Two wanderers slept side by side, dreams no longer cracked by thirst or doubt. Dawn spill rose light across the valley, revealing Copper Creek's wide gravel bed, a final ribbon of water guarding the town's distant roofs. Silas halted the roan atop a ridge of greasewood and studied the scene. The ford lay shallow but swift, churned cloudy by hooves that had crossed before sunrise. Wagon ruts cut fresh scars down the opposite bank. The caravan had reached market. Leah dismounted, tested her new boots in damp sand, then knelt to dip cedar cup. She drank, face intent, as if reading the water's story. When she looked up, fear flickered but did not master her. "We're close," she whispered. Silas nodded, thumb stroking the stock of his Winchester. The oilskin packet in his vest felt heavier than any bullet. 6 names, 6 prices. Leah circled twice. They led the horse into melting shade of cottonwoods. Silas unrolled small toolkit, screwed suppressor cone onto rifle muzzle, an outlaw's trick he rarely used. Leah watched, learning. She produced mother's pendant and slipped it over his neck. Copper band felt warm against scarred throat. "For luck," she said. His hand covered the charm, heart kicking once hard. From the timberline, they saw activity on the far shore. 3 canvas wagons, half-moon corral of buyers, caravan boss Crane pacing with silver-tipped quirt. Scouts milled, including the snake tattoo rider now sporting sling. A fresh group of girls, shackled dusty, huddled near a cook fire. Leah's jaw set hard enough to crack. Silas caught her fist before nails drew blood. "We free them smart, not fast." Plan formed in gestures. He'd take High Bluff east, cut herd line, sow chaos. She'd circle low. Deliver ledger to town marshal sleeping off cheap whiskey in the depot. Proof would turn buyers into witnesses. Cut Crane's escape. They split at Willow Snag. Leah touched his wrist, pulse steady, then slipped through cattail fringe, boot silent. Silas climbed switchback goat trail, each step raising dust ghosts. At summit a limestone shelf overhung the camp. He lay prone, sighted rifle through dead mesquite branches. Below, Crane barked orders, unaware a lone rider with borrowed luck watched. Leah reached the first cluster of clabbered shacks ringing Copper Creek. Town still yawned. Only blacksmith's forge glowed. She rapped on Marshall's door, produced ledger. The man, gray-bearded bent mulligan, blinked bleary, read 2 lines, sobered. "That's Ward Crane's hand," he muttered, pulling trousers on. He buckled sidearm, thumb hammer, called for his 2 deputies. On bluff, Silas waited for signal. Marshall's distant whistle, rising over cicada din. When it came, 3 notes. He breathed once and squeezed trigger. Suppressed shot thudded, cutting lead rope on Crane's prime mount. Horse reared, snapping hitch, colliding with second wagon. Buyers scattered, curses scattering in dust. Silas chambered again, shattered lantern beside powder kegs. Sparks leapt, smoke belched sulfur stench. Panic scent. Crane drew Colt, fired wild at ridge, bullet winding short. Silas's 3rd round punched the barrel from Crane's grip, spinning steel into creek shallows. Then he rolled left, slid down scree as Scout's peppered rim. Stone sang, but flesh stayed whole. Leah arrived with deputies on lathered bays. Mulligan leveled shotgun, roared, "This sale's done." He waved ledger high. Buyers backed, hands up, paper more lethal than lead. Deputies unlocked shackles. Girls stumbled free, clutching one another. Leah found youngest, pressed cedar cup into her shaking hands. Gift passed on like lantern. Crane, furious, reached court for hidden derringer, but Silas emerged from brush, Winchester leveled. "Drop it." 1 word, calm as sunrise. Crane hesitated, studying Leah behind Marshall. Recognition dawned. Hate tightened his face. He spat, "She's mine by debt." Leah stepped forward, voice steady. "Debts paid by blood, yours left in that cave." Crane's eyes flinched. He remembered collapsed tunnel. Marshall cuffed Crane. Deputies bound Scouts. Buyers turned pockets, reeling at threat of complicity. Girls loaded onto freed wagons, now facing town, not auction. Chaos ebbing. Silas found Lee at creek's edge, washing soot from calves' muzzle. Lil Bell had followed unseen, loyalty on small hooves. Sun lit water drops on Leah's curls like beads. He knelt, boots in current, words damned behind teeth too long silent. She spoke first, voice barely louder than riffle. I don't know the road after this. He tip-tapped back, met her gaze. We ride it together. Copper pendant glinted. She touched it, then silver brass ring on her finger. Together, she echoed, stepping closer. Water-soaked boot leather. Neither cared. Crowd noise faded to wind and reeds. Silas brushed back a strand framing her sunburnt cheek. Leah, Word snagged and freed. I spent years outriding ghosts. You turned them quiet. She smiled, tears bright. You put shoes on mine. He laughed, a sound rough new. They leaned, foreheads touching, breaths tasting river air and honey memory. Marshall's shout broke moment needed statements. Silas squeezed her hand, murmured, We'll finish, then head home. Home, she repeated, savoring syllables stranger till today. They waded out, shoulder to shoulder, sun climbing high but gentle. After affidavit signed and Crane carted to sell, townsfolk offered supplies. Seed corn, hammerheads, spool of blue ribbon. Leah tied ribbon to cedar cup. It fluttered in breeze like banner of reclaimed life. Girls rode with deputies to railhead, songs rising hesitant then strong. Silas and Leah mounted roan, little Belle trotting behind. Road southwest called. Through sage plains where barn skeleton awaited full roof, where peach tree promised next season's bloom. They traveled at easy pace, stopping by dusk at Hilltop. Silas unpacked fiddle body with 2 new strings bought in town. Under violet sky, he plucked slow melody. Leah hummed harmony, barefoot on his boots, dancing 3 steps of promise. Stars spilled again. Fire crackled, coffee steamed sweet. Silas drew her close, pressed pendant and ring between their palms. My trail ends where yours begins. Leah answered with quiet vow. Then walk it warm beside me. They sealed promise with gentle kiss lit by ember glow. No hush of fear, only breath of future. Wind carried scent of rain far off, not menace but blessing. Ashes and salt flats lay behind. Ahead, cedar-scented nights and orchard dawns. Shared guardianship of hope. In that vast stillness, 2 hearts beat a slow, confident waltz, each step lighter than the last. Late spring painted the valley green, the kind of shy green that clings to every thorn before trusting the season. Silas and Leah rode the ridge trail at sunrise, a wagon creaking behind them piled with seed sacks, saw blades, and a single weather-stained fiddle case. Little Belle, now a robust heifer, followed on a lead rope, hove thumping steady optimism into the earth. They crested the last hill and saw the ranch below, no longer a skeleton, but a living thing under a fresh clapboard roof. Jonas's half-circle brand still marked the gate, yet Leah had carved a second symbol beside it. The cedar wing half unfurled, initials L and S nested inside. The wood still smelled of sap. As they passed beneath, breeze rattled the new shingles, a sound like applause from the house itself. Work began before coffee cooled. Silas hoisted rafters for a porch lean-to. Leah mixed clay wash and painted sun-baked logs pale honey to bounce heat away. The well crank turned smooth after Silas replaced worn rope with braided horsehair. Leah tied a blue ribbon at the handle, the same one that had fluttered on her cedar cup. Water rose clear, tasting of granite and slow time. Evenings they shared supper on the porch. Rabbit stew, cornbread sweetened with last year's honey, wild onions from creek bends. After plates scraped clean, Silas tuned the fiddle, coaxing soft hymns while Leah's bare feet tapped out rhythms on cedar planks. Stars wheeled, coyotes sang, but inside the circle of lamplight, nothing hunted them anymore. One morning a wagon rattled up the track. Marshal bent Mulligan, hat in hand, deputies grinning. Behind them rode Ada, Mercy, and Nell, the homestead women, escorting 3 girls they'd rescued from Crane's last chain. Leah greeted each by name, handed out cups carved fresh from juniper. Marshal produced legal parchment. Full pardon for any abduction or interference charges, plus reward coin for breaking the trafficking ring. Silas refused the silver. Leah asked that it fund a school roof instead. Mulligan tipped hat. Deal struck. Weeks layered normal onto miracle. Peach tree blossomed in soft pink lamps. Bees followed. Leah hung copper pans to catch petals for jam. Silas repaired boundary fence, driving posts in rhythm with her singing. On still afternoons they read together. Psalms, weather-tattered primer, a book of constellations borrowed from Ada's shelf. Leah traced Orion's belt on Silas's palm. Mapping nights they walked under its stern guard. When summer's first thundercloud climbed the western rim, Silas fetched a small box from saddlebag, knees dusty. In it lay the ring he had forged, now brightened to mirror by nightly polish. Under the peach canopy he knelt. Words came slow, like cattle over long ground. Will you bind your road to mine, east wind and west? Leah answered by slipping ring on finger, then pulling the copper pendant chain over his head. Circle for circle, promise for promise. Rain began warm and soft. They laughed inside it, water washing dust from boots and blessing the earth that would feed them. They married under the well arbor at dusk 3 days later. Attendants small, Ada clasping Mercy's crooked arm, Marshal Mulligan reading simple vows, Nell holding fiddle one arm but sure. Little Belle wore blue ribbon. Silas spoke his oath in 12 words. I will guard your path, share your roof, and water your roots. Leah's oath 11. I will mend your weary heart, light your hearth and walk beside. They sealed vows with palm-pressed lingering kiss. Applause rustled from orchard leaves. Even the wind paused to hear. Night celebration glowed with lanterns hung in peach branches. Girls rescued from the ledger sang call and response work songs turned to praise. Silas and Leah danced slow, boots scuffing new porch boards, her laugh weaving through fiddle notes. Timber scent mixed with peach sweet breeze. Embers in fire pit pulse like second heartbeat. Later, when guests bedded down in bunkhouse, Silas led Leah to barn loft rebuilt from ashes. Hay smelled of July sun. Moonlight knifed through slats, striping their joined hands. They lay atop quilt piece from Anna's calico and Leah's desert dress scraps. Old grief and new hope stitched inseparable. Words diminished to whispers. Her name against his pulse, his against hers, until even whispers folded into breath. Months unspooled in golden thread. Corn shot tassels, calves fattened. Leah opened a small school under porch eaves, teaching letters with cedar-wing chalk holders Silas carved. Children recited while quilt pieces snapped on the line. When afternoon lessons ended, she would ride fence with Silas, hats low, talking futures. Maybe cattle drive east, maybe orchard expansion, maybe nights filled with more lullabies and coyotes. Autumn brought copper leaves, and the first frost pearl on porch rail. They sat wrapped in one blanket, coffee steaming, watching dawn blur. Silas broke silence. Ghost gone quiet? Leah leaned into his shoulder. They're listening to the cedar bird. Below, wagon tracks curved away, carrying rescued girls toward their own promised acres. Above, a hawk wheeled lazy, guarding the fields now safe. Years would carve new lines around their eyes, add nails to barns, names to school lists, rings to family trees. Yet some truths would not change. The well's water still cold and sweet, the cedar cup still hanging by blue ribbon. The boots he once gave her, now worn smooth, still beside the door, equal to his. If Silas and Leah's quiet journey from dusk to dawn moved you, tap subscribe, leave a like, and share what part. The first shared sip, the river standoff, or the peach tree vows stayed ringing in your heart. Your words kindle the next campfire on this trail.